Okay, guys, so Hollywood is collapsing and we're all feeling it. I just had an in-depth interview with Sean Rappelier, who is the founding of Rap Consulting, and he is basically an investment firm who helps people get funding for their movies. And I just had an interview with him, and I'm going to talk to you guys about what I learned from this interview and what you guys can take away from it. Let's get into it. So the first thing that we talked about is that the industry is fickle, and that's even if you have big credits. There are actors right now who are B-list, A-list actors who are struggling to get work. There are directors who are struggling to get work. Everybody is struggling to get work because you guys see what happened was during the strikes. The reason why there was strikes is because no one was getting paid the money that they felt like they were felt like that they deserved. And essentially, what happened is that because of the strikes and because of those new deals, all the major studios started cutting back on their content generation. Before the strikes, there was a massive amounts of content on Netflix, Instagram, but Netflix, Peacock, HBO Max, all of the streaming sites. However, now because of the strikes, they pulled back, I believe, about 40 to 50%. So less people have jobs and less people, and that's just across the board. That goes from actors, directors, crew, animators, so on and so forth. So essentially, the industry is fickle. Your next job could be your last job. And I remember, and I bring this up in an interview, I was watching an interview with Kevin Bacon, and I remember he said to the interviewer that at the end of all of his roles on his last day, he would walk around the set and take everything in because this could be the last time that he would be on set, which is crazy to me because this is Kevin Bacon. But guys, this is going on with everybody. I cannot stress this enough. When I had my acting mentor, and this was after the strikes, by the way, when I had my actor mentor and I met with her, she told me that some of her clients were A-list actors, people who I would know if I was to see their names, and they were struggling to get work. They were freaking out. They were struggling. They didn't know what to do except continue to audition, get rejected, and yet their amount of auditions were just going down steadily. So that's just crazy to me how even A-list actors, people who have been in the industry for a long time, are just not getting the amount of work they used to or not getting any work at all. And these are A-list actors. And it's just crazy. It's like, how can I explain it? Just imagine you're in the suburb and and the suburb's on fire. There's 100 of you, but there's only three houses. Not all 100 of you are going to be able to defend those three houses. Some people are going to burn to death. That's basically what's going on in Hollywood, and I remember I was talking to someone else about this. It'll come back to me later, but the studio system can no longer be trusted for stability is basically what I'm saying, because with the creation and rise of streaming, there's less residuals. Network TV has been dying. Cable has been slowly dying because streaming is putting that out of business. I think that's something underrated that's been going on, is that not only has streaming has impacted the movie business, the theater going business, it's also impacted the cable business. And what people don't realize is that when you have cable and when there's network TV, there's a bunch of ads, there's a bunch of commercials, and these companies, these big studios will get paid for these advertisements. However, because of streaming, there's really no ads. A lot of people pay for the non-ad version, so there's less money coming in. So that means there's less residuals coming in as well. So that's less money for actors. You can't really, it's very, very harder. It's harder now more than ever to make a living as an actor, as a filmmaker in general, because of the lack of residuals and the lack of money that's coming in. If you're basically getting paid up front and that's it. I remember reading a crazy interview about how, what's that brother's name? Sean Baker. He directed Aurora, and how the guy Brody Corbett, who directed that one Bulgarian movie that Adrian Brody won an Oscar for. The name is blank. The Bulgarian is blanking on me right now. But both of them are struggling, and that's crazy because they got paid a decent amount of money. These are both critically, financially successful films. I believe Honora had a budget of 9 million and made 50, and the Brutalist got it. The Brutalist had a budget of also 9 million and made a lot of money, and yet they're still broke, and that's crazy to me. And it's just, guys, there is no stability in the Hollywood studio system. One thing that we talk about is that the Hollywood studio system is dying. So let me move on to the next point. We talk about how streaming saved and killed Hollywood. The boom and bust of content era, which was basically what fueled COVID. It's crazy how during COVID there was so much content. There was so much being put on content. I remember when, so much being put on the streaming platforms. I remember when Warner Brothers was doing a day in play, when they basically had the movie play, when they had new movies gonna come out, they would play in theaters, and they would also play on HBO Max, which was very strange to me. But essentially, everyone started following Netflix's model, because Netflix, when it was just Netflix, everything was still fine. The movie film was actually at an all-time high in 2019 when Endgame came out, ironically. However, ever since COVID happened, everyone jumped on the streaming train. Everyone wanted to copy Netflix's model, and Disney really led that charge. And the problem is that you can't copy Netflix's model. They're Netflix for a reason. Not only did they do it first, they did it the best. And that's really what killed the industry. So while Netflix was a disruptor in the cable industry and in the theater industry, everyone else falling after them is what really killed the industry, to be honest with you. And also, with streaming, I would also say it saved we also said it saved the Hollywood system. It's because now content that you wouldn't see in theaters or even see on network TV is now on streaming, and you're basically watching 8-hour movies, especially if you go to Netflix when they drop all their content at once. Lately, they've been changing their strategy, but they launch all their content at once. These are high quality eight episode seasons that are like an hour long. And with Stranger Things, damn near 2 hours long. Like, this new season 5 is going to be crazy, but that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is that streaming saved the industry that way, and it also killed the industry because there's too much content. There's a lot of it is not really great, to be honest with you, and also there's a lot of delays when it comes to streaming. As far as I believe Stranger Things season 1 came out in 2017, and then season 2 came out like 3 years later. That's a long time. There's a long time in between seasons. You look at the first season, they're kids. You look at the last season, they're adults. That's a long time, even if it is 5 years. I believe the whole series has been 10 years, and they're still supposed to be in high school. I mean, not even high school, middle school, whatever. But that's beside the point. But basically, with streaming, there's been delays, bloated budgets, and oversaturation and crushing quality and sustainability. So the next thing we talked about is AI, the industry's new weapon and threat. We talked about how the strikes were not about banning AI, they were about controlling it. And studios now embrace AI because it cuts out labor costs. Listen, it's inevitable. It is what it is. You have to try to find a way to use AI to help you and to best serve you, because AI is here. Lionsgate is now using AI to tell them, hey, what movies we should come out with, because they're not doing well. They're failing. That last year all of their movies bombed. I mean, did you guys see Borderlands? I didn't think it was a bad movie, but it didn't make any money. I thought it was a great movie. I loved all the actors in that movie. They all did phenomenal. They looked great. The writing was good. I thought it was a decent movie. It wasn't bad, but unfortunately, it did not make money. And the reason for that, to be honest with you, is that there just wasn't enough. The audience who played the game was not supporting the movie. That's essentially what happened. You look at Minecraft, you look at Mario, you see that the audience are people who played those games. Look at the Sonic games. The audience, people who played Sonic. So for some reason, the people who watched or who played Borderlands did not support this movie, and it is what it is. But now, AI is cutting labor costs. What this means for crew jobs, actors, and even writers going forward. We also talk about that. It's a problem. They're replacing all of us. They're training AI systems to learn how to write screenplays. They're training AI systems how to move cameras around so they can have less crew members. And they're even replacing actors by having AI systems be extras. And now, damn near, they can replace A-list actors too. They could probably craft an A-list actor in on a computer and put them in everything. And that's crazy that they have the capabilities to do that. So the strikes were never about stopping AI because it's inevitable. Shout out to Thanos. Basically, what it is just a way to control it and how we can stop it from taking everyone's jobs. But now there's the power shift. The studios now hold more control than ever before. And it's crazy. And it's only going to get worse. Someone told me that Hollywood's going to... I think Sean says this. I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek here. He says that the studio... He said that he had a conversation about someone saying that the studio system's going to die in 20 years. But he's saying it's going to die in 2 years. So, what does this all mean? We can talk about the problems all day, but what are the solutions? Well, here it is. The solution is independent filmmaking. The best thing that you could do as an independent filmmaker is make your own projects. Build your own audience, which is something that he really talks about, and cultivate your own fan base so you can make your own stuff, so you can make your own content. You cannot depend on the studio system anymore because the studio system is dying and it's like going for the lottery. I think you have a better chance to win the lottery than ever try to go for the studio system. But I say that to say that if you're a filmmaker, make something super cheap. I made my first movie for $50,000. I probably shouldn't say that. Anyway, I made my first movie for a decent amount of money. It's too late. I'm not even going to edit that out. I made my first movie for a decent amount of money. I paid for half of it out of pocket. My co-producer paid for it half of out of pocket. And we had another co-producer who also chipped in as well. And we made the movie, and now I've been advertising the movie everywhere. Please check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Cayman. That's beside the point. Not here to market right now. However, make your own projects and then build from there. And make connections and networking, because you can network with financiers who will finance your movie. Say you have $1 million movie, $2 million movie, $3 million movie. You can network with those guys, but first you gotta have skin in the game. You gotta make your own movie, and not only that, it has to be good, which is very hard to do. So we also talk about independent filmmaking, fantasy versus reality, why rising indie filmmakers isn't as romantic as people think. We talk about how independent filmmaking is the wild, wild west, fake attachments, desperate LinkedIn pitches, no funding pipeline whatsoever. Sean talks about all the LinkedIn pitches that he gets and how they're not very great, but it just is what it is. And then basically, he really talks about what it really takes to get over that line as an indie creator and the path forward. And we basically share how the conversation inspired and challenged my approach and how it really impacted me, how I'm going to move forward from now on. I had the mindset of I'm just going to make movies and eventually Hollywood would notice me and I'll be picked up and yada, yada, yada. But that's not, I'm being way more realistic. It's like Mark Duplass says, there's no cavalry coming because you're the cavalry. They're not coming. You are the cavalry. You can't depend on no one else but yourself. So I say that to say that you have to be real about what you still don't know and what you're figuring out publicly as well. So basically, it just really pivoted my mindset as far as, like I said, funding and distribution, and now I'm even changing the way how I'm thinking, and it's only elevating me forward. It's going to do the same for you guys. And this is only the first interview that I'm going to do with him. There's going to be plenty more to come where he's going to go more in depth. So I say this to say, if you're building outside the system like I am, this podcast episode is required listening. You can check out the full interview on Substack. I'm going to post a link in the description so you guys can check it out. And let me know in the comments, what do you guys think in the indie space right now? Please give me a follow on Instagram at Wretched Act Productions. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please follow on Substack in order to get full access to the interview. Thank you guys, and let's keep going.